we'll get into it in just a moment, but just want my colleagues to say hello this afternoon.
Hello, hello. Mhm.
Hello.
All right. So it's interesting. We've had two wonderful guests, Marquila Allen last week, and Dr. Rudolph Johnson III the prior week, giving their insight in terms of team leadership. We thought we kind of twisted a little bit for this afternoon and talk about team leadership gone rogue. And it's not your traditional going rogue. It's kind of defined in terms of really kind of flipping the script a little bit and challenging status quo and thinking a little bit differently about, how we can approach leadership, how we should live in leadership, and how leadership shows up. And so I always think about, as we put in our description title, the most dangerous leadership crisis isn't a bad leader, it's a good leader playing it too safe. So we really want to dig into that and kind of talk about, well, what do you mean too safe in terms of leadership? And so in today's episode, we're going to kind of dive into a little bit around what it truly means to kind of challenge status quo, challenge and ask the questions about rules, disrupt dysfunction, and really think about uncommon courage as part of the process. So really looking forward to today's session as well. So we ask that you continue to send in your questions. We have been getting some powerful questions over the last several months. And again, leadership matters questions at innovisions.org. Leadership matters questions at innovisions.org. And send us a little comment about how you think we're doing or topics you might want to hear more about in the sector as well. So we'd love to get your feedback and hear from you too, as well as continue to send those powerful questions in as well. So we are just excited to have you be part of our show. I mean, we can't do this without you. So, all right. Well, let's get into it. Our first question today from one of our audience listeners is, I can see the dysfunction on my team clearly, but every time I try to challenge the way things are done, I get pushed back from leadership above me. How do you lead? How do you lead rogue when you're not the one at the top? Wow. How do you lead rogue when you're not the one at the top? Dr. Loretta, you want to take a first swing at that?
Not really, but okay,
Okay. All
since you
right.
called
Okay.
me.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
That's one even though I had jotted something down, I still have to think about that. Because sometimes the person who comes in and wants to change, they think you're a troublemaker or you're trying to come in, you know, everything, and that's not necessarily the case. But I think they can still be an influence. First of all, you know, what can you control? What
Mm,
can you really do? What's in your circle of influence that you can actually work with, and I do believe you're gonna have to model the behavior that you want to see, you know, and making sure that your motivation is right. I mean, what's
mm,
the reason for it? What's your true motivation behind it? And of course, that is to make things better and the population you serve. But look at what you can control,
mm,
influence that, and model the behavior.
mm,
Being transparent, you know, hold yourself accountable. And right now, that's what I think. Something
mm,
else might come as I talk to y'all,
mm.
but that's what I think.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Dr. Retta. Dr. Sheryl, how about you?
I like what Dr. Loretta said, particularly with regards to checking our own motives. Like, what is this change about? Is it really, is the intent in mutual benefit? Is it something that's going to benefit everyone? Or, what is this change that I'm pushing about? Um, we'll have to, I guess, at some point define what everyone means by rogue. I
Mm,
think that's a whole
Yes.
nother thing to think about.
mhm,
But on a dysfunctional team and wanting to step out and push back, I still think that typically it gets to be a little out on the limb
mm,
when we're not in alignment with those who are above us. So as Dr. Loretta was saying, we have to recognize what is within our decision-making authority. What is it that we can influence and what is it that we really can't influence, and make sure that we check up before we go down, so that we are staying, one might say, in alignment. There are some things that may be, there may be some difference on, right? So if we're talking about something that's a core value, an ethical issue, that's different than a process. I might see some things I think could be done more efficiently or better, but my upline thinks that it needs to be done differently. Well, I need to stay in alignment. So if I'm going to go out on a limb on something, I need to be going out on a limb that's something really important, like it's an ethics violation or something. Otherwise, yes, it is definitely leading, one might say, rogue, which again, we'll define what that looks like. I'd say if you're not at the top, then you need to still check with whoever your top is to make sure you're in alignment, or you're basically kind of going out on a limb. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah. 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 And I have to agree with both of you doctors. I think the pushback that this particular audience listener references, when I think about the pushback you're getting from leadership, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means that you're probably right. And folks are just not ready yet to kind of think differently, to kind of do things differently as part of leadership. And so leading rogue, when you are kind of not at the top, starts with what I kind of call influence, almost like strategic influence. You lead where you have authority and demonstrate results in your own lane. You don't have to have the title to create a model. And so, I want to also say, as part of that process, as we talk about, um, leading a rogue, know your moment, right? I mean, there's a difference between a frontal assault on your leader, with a strategic cultivation of change. Pick your conversations, document your outcomes, build coalitions, because you know the leader who keeps showing up with results eventually earns the platform to show up and speak even bolder. So I think even though you may not be at the top in terms of your leadership regimen, I think the key is to just again know your lane, and also you can change within that lane, and really become bold and rogue in your leadership as you try to push for better, as you try to challenge status quo, as you try to think differently about processes, as you think about, is this the way we need to do it? Can we think about a different way? So that's what I would add to that question as well. So
So before we move on,
yeah,
you kind of triggered some thoughts as we were talking.
yeah,
Results are important,
yeah.
and certain capabilities are important.
Hmm.
And those are things that certainly can be pointed to and we can see.
Hmm.
Um, I love Franklin Covey's work with regards to success at the speed of trust,
Hmm.
because at the root, still, we have to go back to what Dr. Loretta said. I got to
Yeah,
check myself and make sure
right.
that that which I'm desiring to do is with good integrity and good
Yeah,
intention.
absolutely.
So, what's my character check before I push
Hmm.
on something as well? So, is
Yeah.
this thing that I'm pushing, this change I'm pushing for, with beneficial intent
Hmm.
and integrity?
Right. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, if you're not at the top, a lot of folks don't exercise this rogue leadership position, and I think that's unfortunate. I mean, I think I think organizations could benefit more from
Mhm.
having rogue leaders throughout the organization, whether you're middle management, lower management, entry level management, as well as top management. I am a proponent for rogue leaders throughout the organization. And as a top leader, I want to kind of encourage that too as well, and don't have to feel threatened or feel as though I'm being assaulted. Again, if you understand where you're coming from, if you understand your lane, if you understand what authority you do have, I think you want to show up in the best light around that. So
Mhm.
great. Well, thank you for that question. We'll get to our second audience question coming up, but keep sending those questions in. Very powerful questions. So let's get into this, setting the stage. And Dr. Retta, I think I'll hand this first question over to you.
All right. Well, we keep saying rogue leadership, and I'm in agreement with Dr. Sheryl. We need to define exactly what do you mean, because some people might be panicking out there thinking, what do you mean a rogue leader? And it might be a misperception about it.
Yep.
So as we go on into the conversation, let's define exactly what rogue leadership is, and that what we're talking about is actually a good thing. It's
Hmm.
not something negative. All right. So, Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
what is a rogue leader?
Wow. Um, so when I think about a rogue leader, I'm not talking about being insubordinate. I'm not talking about blowing up the organization just for the sake of it. Rogue leadership, the way I'm defining it, and I think we're defining it for the show, and the way we're framing it today is about having the courage to break from systems and structures that are no longer serving your people, no longer serving the mission, and doing it on purpose with intention, with strategy. It is the leader who says, you know what? I see a better way we can do things, and I'm willing to disrupt the comfortable to get to the necessary. And again, the rogue leader, wherever you're at on that leadership sphere, means that I'm going to be courageous and take a step out and say, hey, can we do this differently? Can I get out of my comfort zone and just raise the question? Can I challenge in a respectful way? The way we've always done things, the way we go about trying to get to our mission. I continue to think about the sector, especially the nonprofit sector. Continuously, we challenge ourselves with making these, trying to make these large, universal, sweeping changes in terms of bettering communities and people. We're still at it. We're still trying to do better with that. And so I think it's time for rogue leaders to show up and to be bold and again to be respectful. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying go out and put everybody, blast them on Facebook in a negative way. I'm talking about doing this in a way that's supportive and respectful as part of that. And so I think we are in that season where organizations are still running on old operating manuals. This is the way we've always done it. Burning out the teams, losing relevance. It's become so transactional. The mission demands more from us today than simple tradition. So leading rogue is not rebellion, it's courageous responsibility. So that's how I'm framing it and thinking about what rogue leadership is about.
Yeah, great. Well, I definitely want to hear Dr. Sherrill's definition of it. I see we're coming up on a break, so,
Okay.
but I definitely want to hear what Dr. Sherrill has to say.
Well, Dr.
Yeah.
Cheryl agrees with me. She can just say ditto.
Well,
That's rogue leadership.
I will say this that on very rare occasion can I say ditto to Dr. Dre, but I will say ditto.
Oh,
I
there you
the way I can get behind the term rogue would be to think of someone who's willing to be courageous and do
Yeah.
something that's different than the norm. So certainly, I would not be in agreement with someone doing something that was dishonest or you know doing something where it would be, one might say, framed as insubordinate. I think that, but I do think that there's a way you can be courageous and you can, as Dr. Dre said, choose your moments. You can choose your battles and stand up on those things that are principles. Um, and and from that perspective, if we're talking about rogue as being courageous and willing to do the something outside of the norm or that may be unexpected, I can certainly get behind rogue with that definition.
go. Yeah, excellent.
Actually, and I know break is quick, but I agree with some of the things you said, Dr. Dre, but I agree with Dr. Sherrill's version about that courageousness, because when I first, when you were talking about the rogue leader, I thought about people who are like whistleblowers, civil
Mm,
rights people, there's this something you see that's wrong and you really want to be on the side of right and you want to help everybody come along
Mm-hmm.
and do the right
Mm-hmm.
thing, But and I'm not trying to say put it on blast, but sometimes you might have to put it on blast if
Mhm.
people are doing something right. That's where that courage comes in, because
Mhm.
it takes courage to be a whistleblower when you know something is wrong that people
Mhm.
are doing and you just don't keep going with the status quo. But I
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
everything I heard from you all. I do. But that was my first thought was about whistleblowers. It's like, oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
Mhm.
takes
good.
courage to do that.
That's good. Hey,
Mhm.
but I know we've got to take a break, a short break. But when we return, let's dig a little deeper into this rogue leadership and examine it. Maybe talk about some of the invisible rules that goes along with being a rogue leader. And so stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors. Inspiring, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And for those who are joining us, myself along with Dr. Loretta, Dr. Sheryl, we are examining this thing called rogue leadership. It's kind of our series on team leadership and really thinking about it from different perspectives and really just starting to delve into this whole thing called rogue leadership. But I think it's a very powerful discussion we've had thus far. Let's kind of examine the rules that goes along with being a rogue leader. And I call them invisible rules to some degree. Every organization has unwritten rules, things nobody really questions, but everybody follows. No one questions, but everyone follows. And so, what are some of the most common invisible rules you see quietly killing team culture? If I can ask that question. And Dr. Sher, what do you think? How would you respond to that?
Hmm. I think one might be people going along to get along.
Mm,
So group thinking, like if nobody really is willing to step out of the norm of what is being expressed in voice. I think another thing I see sometime on teams is that it's not overtly stated
mm.
with regards to what conversations need to be had before meeting, what conversations are they open to have during the meeting, and what needs to take place outside of the meeting. It's invisible, so people don't know. So when they go into a meeting, they think that the person who's facilitating the meeting is, or a person in the meeting that may have a particular topic might be asking for input. And sometimes they're not really asking for input. Sometimes they're asking for validation.
Mhm.
And then they kind of get their hand slapped or ostracized
Mm.
because what was being sought in the meeting was validation and not truly input. And so we pretend sometimes in meetings that the sausage is being made in the meeting
Right.
when really the sausage is made before the meeting
Mm.
and it's just being served in the meeting.
Right. Right. Right.
And,
Right.
so I think those can lead to some team dynamics that get a little dicey
Yeah.
when it's not clear as to what's appropriate for discussion in the meeting and therefore what needs to happen before or after a meeting.
Right. Absolutely. Great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Retta, how
Mhm.
about you?
Mhm.
Yep. I really like that answer, Dr. Sheryl.
Mhm.
One of the things I thought about, and I think because it happened to me a lot, and I see it still happen to some people, is that work comes before everything.
Mhm.
That sometimes people feel like I can contact you 11:30 at night. I'm not having any boundaries as far as you have a personal life
Mhm.
that you need to take care of. And for some people, it's like, oh, okay, well, I've been contacted by my boss. I better do this. I better get it done. But what about that person's health, that person's well-being? You need some time to, as Stephen Covey said, you have to sharpen the saw. You really do. Because after a while, you're going to get dull. You won't be focused on things that you need to do. So I think that there need to be those boundaries. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't mind. I will work. I'll give you 100%. But there are times when it's like, okay, this is my time either with family or this is my time for me. I block
Mhm.
out my me
Mhm.
time. If
Yeah.
all I have to do is sit and meditate, and we had a show last year on the wellness,
Mhm.
Mhm.
of leaders and wellness. And that is really important. And sometimes I think because you feel like you're always fighting fires or people need to be available because you are thinking of it. No, be respectful for those boundaries because that's going to make somebody, they could either get sick or they're leaving.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Great. Great. Appreciate that. Thank you. Dr. White, I think you've got this next portion coming up. Yeah.
Okay.
Love the responses. Yeah, powerful. And those invisible rules, they will get you.
Mhm. Yeah. So this question, I'll say we talk a lot about psychological safety on this show,
Hmm.
and how does that then connect to a team's willingness to really question rules?
Mm. That's a tough one, Dr. Cheryl. I mean, I think they are connected, right? They are
Mhm.
almost kind
Definitely
of the same
connected. Mhm.
conversation. Psychological safety, quote unquote, is really about this. Do people on your team believe they can tell the truth without being punished, ostracized, disconnected, right?
Mhm.
And if the answer is no, if people have learned that challenging the way things are done gets you labeled as difficult or gets you kind of quietly passed over, then the invisible rules will never be touched. Nobody challenges what they fear. And so, what I've seen in organizations with strong psychological safety, for instance, is team members do not just complain about what's broken, they bring the solution. They bring observations, they bring data because they trust that their voice matters. And that trust does not come from a poster on the wall that says, speak up. It comes from a leader who has
Mhm.
consistently demonstrated that hearing hard things is more important to them than being comfortable. And I challenge the notion we don't have enough rogue leaders. They're
Mhm.
almost non-existent. And I love for you two ladies to push back on me. I just don't think we have enough of them. I think they're few and far between. I mean, they're very sparse, very rare. You find a rogue leader. And I think one of the premises for me in terms of this show, today's topic is really to kind of birth and encourage more rogue leaders to start to show up. I just don't think we have enough. But I digress. But that's kind of how I respond to that wonderful question, Dr. Cheryl.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dre. Dr. Loretta.
I agree with Dr. Dre. One of the things with the psychological safety that we do talk about a lot, and you bring it up a lot, Dr. Sheryl, is that people do need to feel safe and there's not going to be any retribution. You know, it's okay for me to question even a decision that the leader might say, well, you know, this is what we're going to do. It's okay to ask why, and you are comfortable enough where you know you're going to get an answer. I realize there are times when there's proprietary information. You can't always talk about everything, but at least, you can bring it up. If they can share it, they will, and you don't feel like, oh my goodness, they're going after me. There's going to be retribution. I'll never get promoted now. It's like you don't want that type of an environment to work in. You want to be able to talk to your leader, and is that leader even approachable? A leader that's actually approachable, because some of them go in the office and you never see them. So is that leader even approachable for people? So, yeah, that's what I think about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree. Psychological safety is definitely connected to the extent to which someone's willing to ask a question. We typically say, as you pointed out, both Dr. Draye and Dr. Loretta, trust is critical. And the higher the trust, the more open the communication, certainly including someone's willingness to ask questions. And I think also recognizing that we can ask questions and we can challenge without being challenging.
Right.
And so
Yes.
there is
Yeah.
a way to certainly be a courageous leader and at the same time be tactful in how we approach situations.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But both of you would
Absolutely.
certainly agree with me that we do not have enough courageous leaders. We don't have those rogue leaders. And again, I'm calling you rogue leader. I'm just calling it out. But both of you would certainly agree that they are very far and few. We don't have a lot of them. They just don't really exist. I mean, every once in a while you'll find a rogue leader, but that doesn't exist. We don't have courageous leaders. We need more.
Well, I wouldn't say that we don't have them, and I don't say that, and I would say that we don't have a lot of them. Would I say that we need more of them? I'd say, yeah, I think we need more people willing to stand on principle. And I think that that's really, it's being courageous and willing to stand for what's right, which is very different than I'm just being difficult about everything.
Mm,
I think people have to be able to choose their battles
mhm,
and courageous leaders willing to stand on principle. I think we do have many of them. And I think people choose their battles
mm,
and they
Right.
choose what will matter and what won't matter. And where Dr. Loretta started, recognizing what we have direct control over, what we can influence, and what we just, it's outside of our control,
mm,
is part of the wisdom. If it's a practice, if it's again, how much of a principle are we talking about?
mm,
And what is it worth? Because uh, when the best way to address an issue is to be able to go up
mhm,
and make sure that those individuals who you are supporting, because everybody's operating on someone else's delegated authority. So, can I stay in alignment in this particular situation and thing that I'm pushing for? And is it worth getting out of alignment if it's a principle,
mm.
if it's an ethical issue, which again is going to be different than if it's just a preference.
Mm. Okay. All right.
And I'll just add to that. I do believe there are rogue leaders.
Mhm.
And I believe that there is a generation of them not trying to be disrespectful when they're questioning things or the way things have been done. Because sometimes, and I say this, and I believe the person is, oh, what? I think, I think the person is a millennium, whatever. But,
Mhm.
but doesn't mind asking the leader or anyone, well, why do we do it that way? And it's not trying to, be showy or anything or disrespectful, but sometimes they come with some better ideas where you can do things more efficiently. And they're willing to speak up, but I have seen it among, I want to say I've seen it among more a different generation,
Mm,
as opposed to some who have been in the organization a long time, but this is always the way we've done it and we're
mhm,
not going to do anything differently. So I do think there are the rogue leaders. I think they're coming. A lot more are coming.
Mm,
Some are there, but I think more are coming. And they are going to question why things have to be this way when maybe there's a better way to do it that's better for everyone, not
mm,
just, one person or anything. So,
Mhm. Well, I do think kind of goes back to what I always say: the culture becomes it's being modeled, supported, and rewarded. I I do
yeah,
believe the generation of probably our children, excuse me, had more
yeah.
probably latitude to express themselves
mm,
without being told, children need to be seen and not heard and stay in your
mhm, right.
place. There were messages that, have passed down through generations. And so, and I also think that how we respond to those individuals who speak up, who share their thoughts, and so on and so forth, if what gets modeled when these behaviors come forth, we will have people continuing to lean into taking the risk of sharing their ideas and their thoughts and their
Mm,
feelings, because that's trust. So if
mm,
it's a trust
Yes.
encouraging behavior, or say a trust encouraging environment, and therefore psychological safety is high, then we will have individuals continue to be willing to express themselves. But
mm,
even those millennials who come into the workplace, over a period of time, if it's not rewarded, if it's punished, if it's not encouraged, we can find that those voices may get tamped down, and they may not be willing to. Human beings are psyches. When we say
mhm,
psyches, they mean they are intentional beings.
yeah,
People do that which benefits themselves.
yeah,
And hopefully they look for what will benefit others as well.
right.
But over a period of time, there's that tension
Mm, mm,
between, how much risk is wise, how
right.
much risk am I willing to take
Yeah,
based on this situation? So,
yeah,
do we encourage even our millennials and others who might come into the workplace
Mhm.
right.
to be willing to state something that's different than the norm, or
Right.
push for
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
that's different than the norm?
All right, and we are up against another break. I
Mhm.
just continue to question if we really have a lot of rogue leaders. I'm gonna still say no. There's not a lot of them. I mean, if you disagree with me, drop us a line at Leadership Matters questions at innovisions.org and say, hey, I'm a rogue leader, and this is why. I'd love to hear your story. If
Mhm.
you are a rogue leader, love to hear that story. But we've got to take a break.
We know you're a rogue leader.
Oh
Yes,
no,
we
no,
do.
no, 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 no. I am a
Mhm.
safe leader. I'm a comfortable leader. But look, we got to take a break. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. But when we come back, let's talk about the people side of Rogue Leader after we take this break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors. And for those who are just joining us, we are in a lively discussion about rogue leaders, courageous leaders, for those who prefer those words. I am here with my co-host, Dr. Loretta Howard, Dr. Sheryl White. Again, glad to have both of you join me in this conversation. I want to get to our second audience question too for the day, because that was a very powerful question that popped up too. So, and that question is, how do you know when you've gone too far? This particular leader says they have disrupted something on their team with good intentions, and it backfired. How do I recover my credibility when rogue leadership doesn't always go the way it's planned? Dr. Sheryl, you want to take a first swing at that one?
No, I'm going to be like Loretta. I do not. Oh, goodness. Dr. Loretta, you want to go first and I go second, or you want me to,
Okay, all right.
or you want me to
Well,
lead
let me
in?
try. I
Okay.
was glad.
Good question.
I was
Yeah.
like, yes,
Good question.
somebody else. Okay. But the first thing I think is
Listen.
that you have to admit it. Yep, I tried something. Unfortunately, that didn't work. And it wasn't, the intention for it not to work, but then you see the impact that it had. And it's like, again, I admit I did it and it didn't work, and maybe involve other people for getting some ideas moving forward. What could I have done better, get some feedback from them and things like that. But the first thing for me would be to definitely admit, yep, I definitely tried that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It didn't work. That was not my intention. So I'm open to listening to how to maybe do something better.
Yeah, I love that, Dr. Loretta. And I think two words that stood out in your answer there was intent and impact, because sometimes we will do something. And I love that the audience person said, with good intentions. I did this with
Right,
good intentions,
right,
yet the impact was not what was intended. And for us
right,
to be able to say, let me examine why my
right,
impact did not align with my intention,
right.
and then be able to rewind and
Mhm.
do something different going forward. And I'll go back to the thought around, because they said they disrupted something on their team with good intentions and it backfired. Again, were they in alignment?
Right.
And so, did I embarrass my leader? Like, what
Mm,
did I do?
mm, mm,
What dynamic was created?
mm,
And is there a way that I can have a private conversation first, and then that be less likely to have a rippling effect of negativity?
Mhm.
Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
a
Absolutely.
difficult situation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being willing to pause and
Right.
examine the difference between the intent and impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's par for the course. I mean, I think
Mhm,
courageous leaders, rogue leaders, are going to have some things that will just backfire. It's a good
mhm,
thing. It's not all so bad. So, I think if you ever have tried to do anything meaningful, we all have experienced a story like this where things backfire. And I think the key is, I want to say is, don't let that moment define your leadership, right? Recovery kind of starts with accountability. Be honest about it. Go back to the team and says, "Hey, I blew it. I moved too fast. I didn't bring you along the way like I should have." And then do a genuine assessment of yourself as well. Was it the wrong ideal or was the execution wrong? Many times the ideal was a powerful one. It was the right one, but maybe the timing or the approach needed just a bit of adjustment. So I would say think about those things in terms of the backfirings that's going to happen. Because if you're doing this rogue leadership the right way, backfires will happen. So if you tell me you haven't had a backfire being a rogue leader, then you're not being a rogue leader. So that's what I'll add to that. So all right, very good questions. So continue to send those questions in. We love them, even though they challenge us, because I think we kind of try to figure out, well, that's a good. What would I respond? How would I respond to something like that? So send those questions into us. We love the questions. So, Dr. White, let's delve into this human side of world
mhm.
leadership for just a moment.
Okay. So let's say when a leader starts challenging norms, not everyone on the team is going to celebrate that.
Mm.
So how do you bring people along when change feels threatening?
Mm.
Ooh, change is never easy at all for people. And I say that from personal experience because I don't always like to change.
Mhm.
But I get brought along when, but what works for me and what I try to do for people who I work with or a team is I do try to have empathy towards them because I know it's difficult
Mm.
to change, especially when we think we have something, it's just the best way to slice the bread or whatever the case is. But truly to have empathy and say, understanding where they're coming from and then talking to them, really listening to them. Why do they feel that way? What is the reasoning behind it? And when possible, explain the why to people. If we have to change, why? Why are we changing it? Why do we have to do that? I remember when a few companies that I worked for, and I was always involved when we would have a reduction in workforce. I was one of the people who would go to organizations that we would acquire and talk to them about, we're taking over your company. This is what's going to happen with your job and stuff. That was not always easy, but just understanding it because I had been riffed before. So I knew how they felt, but explaining the why and then sometimes admitting, yeah, I know this is a loss for you, because in a way you almost go through a grieving process to
Mm.
change some things. You're either grieving or you're angry. But getting some input from them. We make this change. How do you think, how do you think we can do things better? Or getting some feedback from them so that they can have some buy-in to what you're trying to do. But change is not easy. And no matter how much I can say this, there are things that I just like to do a certain way. And when somebody asks me to change it, the hair on my arm starts sticking up. It's like,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
change it? What's wrong with the way we do it now?
Right.
So I
Right.
still am living that sometimes. I
Mhm.
am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
I,
Dr. Loretta. Your thoughts, Dr.
yeah,
Draye?
no, I go right along with what Dr. Redis stated. I think you, again, remind yourself as a rogue leader, really, you start where your people are at, not where you want them to be. That's a piece of advice I would share. It sounds simple, but it's really deep when you terms of trying to get through, especially for those leaders who are kind of vision forward, because we want to talk about where we're going before we have honored where people are. So when change feels threatening, the first thing people need to know is that they have been heard. And so before I start selling anything new or new idea or new concept, I take the time to check in with my team and says, here is what you've done that matters. Here's is where we are keeping. This is what we're keeping. This is not what we're keeping. And here's how we're going to move forward and get their input in terms of it. It acknowledges the past without being in prison. It involves them in the design of change, makes them have a voice as part of that process. It's transformative. And so when you have team members who buy into, again, your ideas and ways you want to think about doing something differently, you're building something, and they're more apt to defend it instead of resist it. And so that's how I would kind of respond and add flavor to that particular question. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I love what both of you said. I mean, I just probably would summarize the um, inform, the anticipated, one might say, what and why, and love the getting the input and empathizing and seeing what you might even be able to use relative to the input that's provided and the advance notice. I think the more people have advance notice to warm up to a particular change, not notifying while changing,
mhm.
but really ahead of time being willing to um, inform, empathize, consider input, and then move can be certainly very helpful.
Mhm.
Both. Mhm.
Yeah.
And before going to the next question, I just want to add one more thing. And the
Mhm.
two of you may have seen this happen in organizations too. I'm not sure I would call them a rogue leader, but you
Mhm.
have those unofficial leaders.
Mm-hmm.
where it's someone who, okay, we're doing this change, and you see everybody go talk to that person. What do you think about the
Mm-hmm.
change? What do you know, is this going to be good for the company?
Right,
Getting your
right,
ideas,
right,
identifying who that person is.
Y'all,
That's
those are
somebody
formal
you want to
leaders.
talk
Yeah.
to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, those informal leaders, because they
Mm-hmm.
might not have the title, but people go to them and get their
right.
thoughts on
So
it.
true.
And
Mm-hmm.
you really want to talk to
Mm-hmm.
that person to see how they're feeling about it and
Mm-hmm.
why,
Mm-hmm.
what input. Yep, those
Yeah.
Mhm.
unofficial leaders. Yeah.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
okay, so next question.
Hey, but I'm going to cut you off here because we got to take a break, Dr. Reddy.
Already?
I'm sorry. I know. I know. This
Okay.
is. I'm going to be rogue here, so I'm sorry. I'm going to take this.
Okay.
So,
It's for a
but
good reason, so
yep,
okay.
yep, yep. But yeah, excellent conversation. But we're going to take a short break. When we return, I want to get into this rapid fire, and maybe we'll pick up some more on the people side of of rogue leadership as well. But stay tuned. We've got much more to talk about. We'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors. And for those who are just joining us, a lovely conversation with Dr. Loretta, Dr. Sheryl on this rogue leadership piece in terms of thinking about how we challenge status quo and how we truly become courageous leaders in really building a team. And again, so glad to have Dr. Loretta and Dr. Sheryl with me on this lively discussion that we're having as part of this month's focus, which is really on team leadership and just looking at it from a different perspective as well. So let's jump into maybe a little bit of the rapid fire, ladies, if that's okay with you, and see how we all perhaps may answer some of these rapid fire questions that we can come up with. So let me throw this first one out, and I'll throw it to you first, Dr. Cheryl, and you, Dr. Retta. One rule every leader should break immediately.
I'm gonna be rogue and say pass.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And,
Um, I think consensus. You don't need to have consensus.
mm, okay. Um, can I chime in on this one? I would say
Yeah.
um, the leader in the room always have to have the answer. Stop it. You don't have to. I mean, as a leader, you don't always have to have the answer.
Mhm.
Value your team's intelligence and their input and their assets as well. All right. You still passing that, Dr. Sharon? You still passing?
Yes.
Okay. All
And I
right.
love both of your responses.
Oh,
Great.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. How about this next one? Best sign that a team is ready to step up. Best sign that a team is ready to step up. Dr. Retta, how about you?
When they show initiative, that you don't
Mhm.
always have to give them something to prod them to come up with ideas, but that they actually show some initiative on their own. I like it when people do that.
Okay. Dr. Cheryl?
I'm gonna say trust. I'm gonna say
Mhm.
trust based on their results, based on their demonstrated capabilities, and based on good character.
Okay. Yep. And I like both of those. I like it when team members start asking better questions, right? Instead of waiting for better instructions, taking the initiative to some degree. So, all right, Dr. Cheryl, how about this one? Worst thing a leader can say when their team is in a rut.
I'll say something negative.
Okay. Dr. Retta?
It could be worse.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think you should ever say that. It could be
Okay.
worse.
Yeah. You're right. I go along with this is just how we do things here. It's the way it is. Okay. And wrong answer.
Mhm.
Okay, Dr. Retta, one word that describes a rogue leader done right.
Visionary.
Okay, Dr. Cheryl.
Um, Courageous.
Okay. I'm going along with courageous too. So since we've been talking about it, okay. Last one for the rapid fire. Finish the sentence, Dr. Cheryl. The leader who plays it safe is really risking what? Dr. Cheryl. The leader who
Lack
plays it
of
safe is
progress.
progress. Okay.
Innovation.
Okay. Yep. And I would probably say everything that actually matters. I got one more. One more that came to mind. What's the one thing great teams do that average teams are afraid to? Dr. Retta.
Mm. The one thing, okay. Mm. Having those hard conversations, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, having those hard conversations.
Okay.
They knowing that I can talk to my colleagues no matter what I say is that psychological safety. I can do that, but having those hard conversations.
Okay. Dr. Sheryl, how about you?
I love the difficult conversations, and I also think great teams look beyond what is and envision what's possible.
Mm, mm. I think what came to mind when this question popped up is the thing that average teams do. What's one thing great teams do that average team is tell the truth to each other.
Hmm.
I mean, I think we wear these masks. I keep going back to this mask. We all of us
Hmm.
wear masks, and
Hmm.
sometimes we hide lots of stuff. I think we got to get into a better role of just telling the truth to each other,
Hmm.
and then not only tell the truth, but then stay in the room and figure out what we're going to do about it.
Hmm.
Okay, I
Hmm.
just told you what you need to do. What we going to do about it. So good. Yeah. So that's my thinking in terms of that. So well, thank you for playing rapid fire. That was exciting as well. So. There's so much we haven't covered in this discussion. I mean, around rogue leadership. I'm thinking about as we talk about closing, because I know we're coming closing to session soon here. But when I think about, what's top of mind as I think about maybe a closing question as we kind of try to wrap all this up, I'm thinking to myself, for the leader who's been told either directly or indirectly that their bold ideas are just too much, and they may be out there listening to us. What would you say to them today? I mean, if they, we've got a number of leaders who've got wonderful ideas, who want to be courageous, who want to be that rogue leader, but they're bold leaders. They've been told that, your ideas are too much. You're too much for us. What would you say to them today, though, for those who might be listening? Dr. Retta, Dr. Sheryl, anything that come to mind?
My first thought is, I'll say, don't let someone else's fear, shrink your vision or
Mm,
stop your vision, because they might just be afraid of the change or doing something differently. But you can't let other people's fear stop you from doing what you know to be right or the vision that you've been given. So,
okay. All right. Dr. Sheryl?
Mhm. I'd say reflect inward and
Mm,
listen to your heart and have integrity with regards to what is true for you. And don't be afraid to be humble
mm,
and take feedback, figure out the what and the why, and is there a different delivery that then allows you to continue to be courageous and doing the right thing, even when it may be hard to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love both of those responses. I think what comes to mind is don't let others' limitations become your ceiling, right?
mm,
Your
mm,
vision is not a problem to be managed. It's an asset that needs to live in its fullness. And so I would probably tell that listener out there been in the situation just that. Continue to move ahead and strive forward and continue to be a rogue leader. I mean, live you be you, as you've often have heard me say as well. So, wow. Well, we're coming to an end. Any last comment, things you might want to offer up, Dr. Sheryl, Dr. Loretta, as we kind of close this out? I mean, we really needed to dedicate, 5 hours to this particular topic, but we didn't have a lot of time. Anything that comes to mind last minute as we close out?
There actually is a quote from Jackson Brown
Okay.
Jr., and he says, live so when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you.
Mm,
I like
wow.
that. I
Wow.
like that. Like that.
Wow.
Um, just based on this conversation, using the word rogue leader, courageous leader, which I really like, courageous leader. But sometimes you're going to make people feel uncomfortable, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So they're not always going to agree with your idea, but change, it's necessary. Someone told me who is on this podcast,
Mm,
sometimes you need that necessary rub.
mm,
So I didn't always get it, but I have learned that, yeah, the rub is necessary. So by all means, you might make people uncomfortable, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
right.
Yeah, I think I told you that. So when you make Dr. Dre uncomfortable, it's not necessarily a bad thing. No,
Well,
I'm, I'm
well, both
kidding.
of you make me
Indeed.
uncomfortable. Both of you make me
I'm sure
uncomfortable.
that's what Dr. Dre told you.
Yeah, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. No, that's great. That's great. And I want to challenge every listener that's out there to kind of walk away. I would challenge you to have one honest conversation that you've been avoiding. Just one. You don't have to redesign your whole organization. You don't have to write a strategic disruption plan. Just that one conversation with your team, with your leadership, with yourself that you already know that needs to happen, and you've been finding reasons not to have it. That conversation is where the rogue leadership begins with you today. And so challenge yourself and commit to yourself that I'm going to have that one conversation that I've been avoiding and needing to have with my team or maybe with myself as part of that process. So great. All right. Well, that wraps up our time together. I mean, it's always a pleasure to have our audience join us. And we want to, again, just thank everyone for being with us. We want to thank you for listening. Continue to send in your wonderful questions. Leadership Matters questions at innovations.org. Drop me the line if you are a leader, if you are a rogue leader. Love to know if you're a rogue leader and tell me why you think you're a rogue leader. But we want you to join us every Wednesday YouTube, 2 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Central Time. You can download our podcast at your convenience on demand. And you can catch us on all kinds of various vehicles, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We are there. Spread the word about this particular show. Share it with your friends, your colleagues, your relatives, whoever you might need to share it with, because we do have some very powerful conversations that certainly can move and really think about leadership much differently. So until next time, Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, where we are informing leaders, inspiring solutions. Make your leadership matter. Until next time, thank you.